Hi, everybody. It's Maria from What's the Story with Maria. How's it going? I got to tell you that these new promos that Leo is making are like above and beyond. So I want to first and foremost give a shout out to my buddy Leo, who makes all these amazing promos and does all this great stuff. Okay, Dee has joined us right away, although Danielle's going to be our guest tonight. I'm so excited. How can it not be amazing? So Danielle says, hi, Maria and Leo. Happy Tuesday. Couldn't miss my first comment. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming. Yes, Danielle is usually the first one on, although last week, whoa, Mandar, I don't know how he slid in there.
A little competition in there. I like that. That's pretty
yes.
cool. Woo!
Look at Mandar. Mandar, you were second tonight. Last week, he slid in. He was like first. Andy Prasky, our beautiful Andy Prasky has returned. Happy Tuesday. Happy spring. Yes. And we are going to celebrate all that. Lynn Dorman. Hi, Danielle and Maria. Hi, Lynn. I don't know if I know Lynn. How nice to see you. Dominic Pupa. I'm here for the nudes.
Yay.
Oh, Dominic, you know what? You know, Dominic has his own podcast.
Yeah, I've heard a spell.
Yeah. So Fixing Famous People, I think it's called.
I missed that voice.
I know. I'm very excited about it. So we'll have to talk to Dominic about that. Maybe we'll have him come on soon and tell us about that.
I hope so.
And okay, Lynn and Danielle probably know each other, which is wonderful. Then, of course, hopefully we'll have Lynn Portas come in. Although I think she's at the Solo Festival, United Solo Festival tonight. Mm-hmm. She has been working with Stephanie Egan and Wendy, our beautiful Wendy Lane Bailey. Yep, they've been working around the clock there. You know, Wendy Lane is the big cheese over there. So
putting on a show individually is monstrous, to say the least.
Right.
And to put on many shows all together. But, you know, festivals, she's right. When Wendy Lynn was talking about,
she's great, isn't she? Great.
She's
Wendy
so
Lynn.
Energetic. I love that hair. I love her hair.
She's so smart.
Oh my God.
She is smart as a whip.
When you put those groups together, you know, I've been part of the American College Theater Festival, which takes theater groups from junior colleges and colleges. I've been to international festivals performing in Cyprus and in Egypt and in Ireland. And when you get these groups together of artists from different places telling different stories, like your women's group, writer group, you know, it's just such...
That group saved my butt during COVID.
It's such a great way to... You know, there was a little romance I had in Egypt. Very quietly. Nothing risque or anything like that. But it was a very nice dancer from another country. We barely could speak each other's languages, and we were hanging out for a night in Egypt.
Well, that's what they mean by showmances. I always loved that. I mean, there is so, you know, they say that, and Danielle will be able to really elaborate on this if she wants to go to this place, but they say that the chakra for creativity and the chakra for intimacy is the same one, or for relationships. So I wonder if it is something like that. I think we talked about that. There she is. There's our beautiful Danielle. Hi, honey.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh, good to see you. So Danielle, since you're here with us now, is there any truth to that?
Yes, there is. So that would be the sacral chakra. It's about 2 to 3 fingers below somebody's belly button. And ideally it glows orange. And it is the chakra for creativity and sexuality.
Wow. Yes, I think I saw that once. Somebody had some kind of a diagram. And I remember thinking, wow, isn't that interesting? And I wonder if that is the reason why people, when they're creating together, sometimes fall in love, you know, when they're whatever they're doing or working on show, you know, as they say, showmances. That happens quite often.
For sure.
The weather girl's here.
Weather girl, my cousin Rena Crignali-Bergi from Massachusetts has joined us. Hello and happy spring. Yes, how wonderful. Andy says, oh, Leo, you international James Bond. I love that. John Savino, my cousin John. That is my mother. My mother and his dad were brother and sister. Our brother and sister. They're just in heaven now. How do you get how to
After
get
curing
after
COVID.
it. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know. There's the mysteries of the world surround us, John. But tonight's show. Okay, so let's get this going. Hold on a second. So we want to welcome you to our show, everybody out there. Love you all. I love you too. I wish you guys could meet my cousin John. He's just the most adorable guy and fabulous and just takes care of everyone in the family. He's that guy. He's that guy that shows up on Sunday mornings and takes my dad food shopping and shows up and brings you sandwiches. And he's just that guy.
The good guy.
Anyway, yes,
Mhm.
yes, he's a good guy for sure. So we want to welcome everybody to our show. We meet here every Tuesday night from 9 to 10. And we usually interview creative people and talk about different things that they're working on. Our guest tonight has been on the show before, and she is a reoccurring guest. And she also was one of our people that always types in. She is creative, very, very creative. She is also has a million gifts. So we wanted to bring her on because Danielle and I were talking on the phone a few weeks ago, and I just feel like we need a little Danielle right now. We need a little, and she chose. I let her choose the date, and not even knowing that. What is today, Danielle?
Today is astrological New Year. Yesterday was equinox, and so today is the New Year because it's the first day of Aries season.
And Aries would be used. I mean, I knew it only because I knew some things like that. But Aries is the first sign of the cycle, right?
Yes, it's the first sign of the zodiac. And the reason why it's New Year is because it is when we actually reach a full rotation around the sun. So New Year was changed to be in January in Roman times. But prior to that, equinox and astrological New Year were the most holy days of the year.
Really? Now, why do you think those pesky Romans changed it?
Romans are separate from Italians in a lot of instances, right?
Well, I was being, a little funny, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they're just bossy and they wanted it their way.
Yeah. So actually, a lot of the holiday and a lot of the way that we have the months situated does stem from Roman things. A lot of the months are named based on Latin names, but they switched it more so when they kind of cycled into Christianity. Originally in Rome, this time was also celebrated for the god Mars. And it's interesting because Mars also rules over Tuesdays as a day of the week.
What?
Yeah, so you were working with Mars when you chose today for your shows whenever you assigned it today.
Oh
and
my
Mars
God.
rules over most of March because Mars is the sign, the planet that rules the sign of Aries.
Who the hell knew? I guess Danielle knew.
And March is hot, right?
Oh my God, Chauncey, Mr. March. I was with him last night. I was laughing and laughing and laughing. He was so funny. He's so cute. We love Chauncey Dandridge. So he is Mr. March. He's still very excited about that. I had to take the calendar out. This is our calendar, by the way, our nothing but the apron calendar.
He is Aries as well, isn't he?
Well, tomorrow's his birthday, so yes, he would be.
Yeah. He would be a cuspy, actually. So when you're within a couple days of a sign switch, you're referred to as a cuspy. So you can have traits of the sign that you're born in and the previous sign.
Interesting. So he's a cuspy. I'm going to remind him of that. I'll see him tomorrow night. I'm going to bring him a cupcake. Because I work at the duplex tomorrow night and he works at Stonewall.
You tell him I said he is a little cupcake.
I know.
Happy birthday.
I will tell him. He'll be very excited to hear that. Sometimes he pops on. He is working tonight, but sometimes he pops on.
Oh, I'm lagging on my comments.
Okay, so now Danielle, would you say that this so this is the beginning. This is a good time for most people to do what? Because I know different times of the year are good for different things.
Yeah, so this is actually a great time to give yourself a new start. We have multiple New Year's that you can celebrate and tap into actually throughout the year. But for the majority of the world, this is kind of the second to last one. So we start with the collective New Year in January, then around February, we usually have the Chinese Lunar New Year, which we're in the year of the rabbit this year. And rabbit's also significant to now, which I'll talk about in a second. But then after the Chinese New Year, we go into this time, the astrological New Year. And then kind of the last majorly celebrated New Year, in my experience, is then the Jewish New Year, which is around September, Rosh Hashanah holidays.
Right, right. Well, I kind of like that there's all these different New Years because
Yeah.
it gives different groups a chance to honor whatever their culture is. But it also, for me, I love different cultures, so I'm always so interested in why people do what they do. And when we had Tom Chu on, remember for New Year, man, did he give us so much great information that I wouldn't have known. So that's just really, I love all this stuff. And
Yeah.
so, okay, so we've been talking a lot. Just because I love what you do. I think it's just phenomenal. I think you're just a lovely human being, and
Thank
we
you.
could always use more lovely human beings in the world. And I talk about this all the time, but I had an amazing session with Danielle a few months ago, and it really like shifted so much of my life. Like it really, it's almost like I felt tipped and emptied out of the bad stuff, and I was able to replenish with good things. So I can't not, this is just coming straight from personal experience. I had a session with Danielle. The session I particularly had was called the Quantum Session. I can't say enough about it. If you were someone that is interested in Danielle channels the other side, and if you're interested in that, which I really was, and I know Rena and Ziana got them a session. They loved it. Judy got a session. She loved it. My cousin Rosa Abendanza got a session and she loved it. Um, and hopefully my sister will, I know she's traveling this week, but we'll, so a lot of my friends now have gotten sessions with you, Danielle. And, one of the things that you said was that we were talking the other day and you said people come through all the time. So when people come through to you, is it just when you're doing a session or is it like you could just randomly be home doing something else and someone is trying to communicate with you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all the time. It was more frequent. Honestly, I grew up in an Italian family that did not understand or condone the concept of boundaries. So
Oh, that
so I was ingrained that boundaries were bad. And that carried over actually to my relationship with my gift and with spirit. And so I didn't have boundaries with the other side either. So I
that's
would end up getting visits all the time, just nonstop, and be drained because I would be working in my waking state and in my sleeping state. But a lot of the time, especially in my earlier life, for spirits that would just, I would never really connect with people here. I would be crossing them over or helping them understand something and things like that. So I do connect with spirit, and I also connect with people's energy fields and their spirit guide teams. So I can see things about them that don't necessarily have to come from a loved one in spirit. So now that I have better boundaries, it's easier to notice someone that's there in spirit, or notice an energy or a message for someone, and then also respect myself and the other person to see whether it's an appropriate time to give the message, and also always ask for consent before diving into someone's energy.
wow, that's fascinating. So if people have never heard of anything like this is a Danielle is an amazing place to learn because Danielle is not. I mean, because I've always loved this stuff and I've read a lot and I've gone to see a lot of different, people on stage, like James Van Prague and George Anderson and read tons and tons of books, and I love this stuff. But I have to say that the way that you explain it and approach it, um, is a very gentle way of doing it. There's a lot of kindness to the way that you do it. I think that people in general are like we're more fragile than we would ever admit. Men and women, it's not just women.
Right.
And it's especially when it comes to people that we've lost. I think we're so fragile, we want to so badly connect. So I want to thank you for the way that you approach things in such a respectful way. So
Thank
uh,
you. And thank you and Leo. You guys have been so kind and always shouting me out and sharing the links so that people could find me easily. I love and appreciate you guys so much.
well, thank you. You know what? Here's my thing. I want people to be happy. Like If I could just make everybody happy, that would be like the greatest thing in the world. So how can you can't make everybody happy, but you can be nice to people. But then when I met you, I was like, oh, this was something that lifted so much sadness off of my heart. I would love to pass that on to someone else. So, and Leo, I know you feel the same way, and you're very spiritual.
Danielle's part of the family, just coming in and typing in already. She's just
I
part of the
know.
group.
Mandar is the very bad fresh cousin. That's who Mandar is. Okay, great. So now Mandar has asked a very valid question. What is the difference between a spirit and a ghost? Is there one?
So all ghosts are spirits, but not all spirits are ghosts, because ghost is more identified with energies that have remained attached to the level of consciousness that they were previous to passing over. So sometimes energies get stuck or choose of their own volition to stay stuck because they're afraid to pass over to the other side. They are not sure what their beliefs are. They're not sure if they'll be punished. And sometimes actually they feel like it's such a transition for them to leave the body. Then they're viewing their friends and family members, and they don't know if they'll still be able to do that if they cross to the other side. So I would identify a ghost as an energy that is kind of stuck or choosing to stay attached to more closely related to our plane of existence.
Wow. So I would say that then a ghost would be more fearful of leaving. It's almost like they're afraid to make the wrong decision.
Yeah, sometimes. And so that's where I was talking about earlier. Sometimes I never connect it with a person in the physical. Sometimes they try to get me their family's information if they would be open to that. But a lot of times they want comfort for someone like myself who's able to kind of exist on both sides of life because of my gift, and be able to either walk them to the other side or give them comfort in explaining what it's like or what it could be like for them.
Wow. Okay. So Rena says, Danielle, are you able to connect with your friends and loved ones, or only when they come to you?
Yes. So first of all, hi Rena and Ziana. I had a good talk with Ziana
I
the other
talked to Ziana today. She loves you.
I love her, and she calls me Bella, which I don't hear from many
Oh.
people anymore. So, but yes, I can connect with my friends and loved ones. I mean, it is their choice still. So you can call someone and they're busy, they don't want to show up. And also, I've helped a lot of my friends and loved ones. I crossed some of my loved ones over. I have friends and loved ones from alternate lives that still visit me because I'm alive again, if you believe in that. And it is more difficult though, because for anyone, including myself, grief is an extra veil upon us, between us and the other side. So if you're someone who's still very stuck in your grief, it could be more difficult to have clear communication with a loved one on the other side, even if you're considered yourself a medium. So depending on how soon the person has passed, or if I'm dealing with a moment of grief or anger about someone that has left this world, even if I knew them, it could be more difficult to connect with my own people at certain times than it is to connect with a client who I don't have that emotional barrier for.
Wow. Now, I had a particular question because you and I talked about this a little bit. And so addiction, because addiction is a sad reality. And, a lot of my friends I know that have passed, like just in the last, in like the last 7 years, some of them, sadly, there was a lot of addiction involved. And I personally am in recovery. So there's no judgment whatsoever.
Right.
I feel like I literally like dodged a bullet. Like I could have gone either way. And I'm so grateful that I'm here. So we talked about that. And, so can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We also spoke about how the founder or the writer behind AA, I believe Bill Wilson. Yeah, so he was in a group prior to creating AA. He was in a Christian meditation group called the Oxford Group.
Yep.
Yep, and that opened him up to a lot of information of God outside of the spectrum of classified or church type religion. And it's believed that he learned in that process to channel, whether he was comfortable referring to that or not as channeling. And he, I believe, and from how he's described it, channeled those 12 steps.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so that is channeled information. A lot of people get uncomfortable with that term. And actually, Bill Wilson's name has been kind of blacklisted among some Christian groups because of how he left the Oxford group. And it's said that he channeled it from evil spirits from
Well, that's
Christian groups.
open-minded and Christian love there for
Yeah,
you,
that's
isn't it? Oh.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of Christians, unfortunately, who feel the need to classify anything that's not canon, which canon is controlled. That was controlled by Rome. But they feel the need to classify anything that's not canon as evil. And
Right.
in my opinion, it just kind of crowds out the full spectrum of God. So it's sad to me.
I couldn't agree with you more. And like it's true that we only use 10% of our brains. Most humans, you probably use like a ton more than anybody I know. But so who's to say that we can't do things like that? Like I, as a person that feels like Bill W. has directly saved my life. Like I never met the guy, but his writings and because of AA and all that, I do feel that it was channeled, because when you do read that stuff and when you like, how does it work, how it works, where we all like just sit in a room or share with each other, and there's just such beauty and truth in that, like. So now, are there souls that are so burdened that what do you do with that? What do you do with souls that is that like they have to do it over and over in different lives, or?
It can be. I mean, to be honest with you, I travel to the other side. I get taken on that trip before I understand what that was. And so I know a lot of people like to believe in the classical interpretation of heaven or hell, but in my experience, there are many different layers above and below. And souls continue learning after they die. And sometimes, if they're very burdened, they do create their own type of hell. It really does depend on our belief system. God is everything. God can be malleable, in my experience, to anything that soul needs. And I've never seen a version of God that's really here to punish. There's a system that self-regulates. And we honestly, as souls, punish ourselves for deeds if we've wronged others. So that's the system of karma that's set up. And there are souls, if they pass from something like suicide, or if they have a stain of addiction, those things can carry over into other lives, and it can also inform their experience on the other side. It depends on the soul. Sometimes they get a very soft, sweet respite, and then they know when they come back into life, they'll reenact certain lessons, and some deal with it in their experience on the other side. And some of them do come to me for help with that.
Now, staying on the same subject, is there anything we can do as earthlings to help elevate a soul that is saddened or confused or has maybe struggled? Like I read somewhere once that like the more you pray for a soul, the more it elevates. But I don't know. Is there truth to that, or?
There is, yeah. So our prayers do give energy to souls on the other side. And a lot of burdens of life do lift off the soul as soon as it passes away. But it is the soul's choice to see whether they're going to use that ultimate perspective, or whether they're going to still limit themselves a bit to work through some things. So something else that helps is us working through the issues that we had with the person. So when I do a reading for someone, I will see the other soul become lighter when their burden is lifted, because they finally got the message through. They could have been trying through dreams and knocking things over and all kinds of things. And so that helps. That's a form of resolving karma. So that helps elevate a soul as well.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, I mean, I think Mandar was the one that said, "Have you ever come across a soul that was evil or frightening?"
Yes, I have. And there are ways to ward them off. There are many. It depends what you practice and what you want to believe in. If you want to pray to a certain version of deity for protection in that, some people burn candles or sage or Palo Santo. But it is also about our beliefs and about boundaries again and what we allow, how close we allow spirits to get to us. And if we allow them on an unconscious or conscious level to drain us in any way.
I don't
I
know if
have,
it's I don't mean to laugh, but I don't know if it's powerful because I just tell them to get out.
yeah, no,
I
that's
mean, seriously,
powerful because,
I don't use a candle. Get out. This is no place for you here.
yeah,
And
no, that's
scarily enough,
powerful.
I've had some things with my car seat, my passenger seat when I drive down certain because I'm on the mountain. So if I have to go down to Palm Springs or whatever, and there are times when there's nothing in my seat, but my thing will go off, ding, ding, ding. And there's been a moment when I've said, you cannot hitchhike, get out of my car,"
Yeah,
and it stopped, and I kept driving, and I was
yeah.
like, "Yeah, no, I was right. Okay, keep driving."
Right. Isn't that
Yeah, no, that
interesting?
happens. And now, especially also as we have like filters, on people pick up the filter will pick up another energy behind them.
Mm.
So it is
Wow.
common. It is also because we don't set ownership of our own selves or our own spaces enough. And if you don't set ownership, then sometimes beings that are passing through, or spirits that are passing through will say, oh, well, let's have some fun and interact. And like Leo
Mhm.
said, that is part of warding. It's taking ownership and choosing what you consent to. Do you consent to that experience of having them around or not?
Yeah, wow, that's really layered. There's a lot of
Sometimes it takes a little bit more. Like I do space clearings and home clearings and blessings and clear energy attachments off of people. But it's really a particular circumstance in terms of why that energy has chosen to be in your presence. And it usually happens because there's some wound that we have that carries a similar frequency, to something that is familiar to that energy. So sometimes we could be ignoring survival wounds that we've had or anger issues or something, and the soul will notice the energy of that wound within us and say, oh, let's go hang out with them, that looks familiar.
right.
My cats are
Interesting.
the ones that give me the sign. If they're both active for some reason and there's nothing really going on, that especially when I'm here in the apartment, that's when I'm just like, all right, leave them alone, get out of here,
Isn't that
go on your way.
interesting?
Well, and you spoke about Egypt, so cats have long been spiritual protectors, as I'm sure
Hmm.
you know.
These girls came to me, so I know what they reward, so I
Yeah,
accept them
your
for that.
cats are pretty special, Leo. They
Mm,
really are, and they're
babies.
super pretty. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, like real questions that you want to ask, please just jump on because we want to be able to help you. In the meantime, can we show Danielle's website? So if people
Hmm.
want to get a real session, I mean, tonight we're just asking certain questions, but
You can
when,
ask questions, and I could do mini readings as well. So if you have a personalized question that you're wondering about and would like to ask, you can ask that. Not everything translates as well in a medium like this where you're only texting, but we will get you the most information possible through this.
wow, so you hear that? Does anybody out there, seriously, no, not joking around or foolishness, Mandar, but if anybody,
Such a
but he's
clown.
so funny. I love him to
He's
death.
such a clown.
I love him to death. Mandar, by the way, you looked pretty cute in your little St. Patty's Day outfit. I mean, he was our Indian St. Patrick's Day um, rep. But if anybody has a legitimate question that they want to ask, maybe we could do like a little,
Well, I have a question actually.
Yes.
I'd like to know if everybody got home okay.
For you.
Yeah, for me. There's a relative that I'm asking about.
I feel a big door was opened, and some of the older relatives definitely helped hold that open until they were ready to fully cross.
Okay, that makes sense.
I love that. I
Oh
love
my
that.
goodness.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
Good.
Let's see. Let's see what we can get coming through here.
That's Jay.
Jay, does Jay ask any question?
He says,
Okay.
thanks, Danielle. Absolutely love this subject. Bill W.'s words, to us, the realm of the spirit is broad, roomy, all inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding to those who earnestly seek. It is open, we believe, to all persons.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's our
And
Jay
that's something
Rivera.
that religion has sought to siphon, in my opinion and experience. You know, everyone wants to hold the monopoly on that, and it's easier to control people if they believe that they have to go through another source. Something that I love to do with clients and why I study so many different forms of religion is to meet them where they are and help them form their own understandings and connections, so that yeah, it helps to go to someone like me who has perspective that you may not have when you're feeling really deep emotions, but you also know that you're your part of your own higher power as well, and you can make your own connections too.
But you know what you just said about studying different religions? Bill W. did that. He
Yeah,
studied
I
as
know.
many as he could. He was so interested in it, and Jay, was talking about that as well. So he was such a cool guy. Like like when they say, "Oh, if you could meet anybody and have dinner with anybody, living or passed on, who would it be?" He's like my number one. It's my number one.
Yeah.
That I would love to sit with. But I feel like I have been there with him, because I feel like inadvertently his teachings did save my life. And I love that he says the God of your understanding, whatever that is. Like in AA they say that the God of my understanding. And that's whatever you think it is, and that's what I love about it.
I think
So
the one thing I know, Danielle and I spent some time talking after the last show. I mentioned her. I always thought religion, there all these religions, the spirituality are on this wheel, and we stopped trying to control the wheel and just put all the puzzle pieces together. Muslim,
great.
Islam, Buddhism, all of these things together, they all have the answers, and at the heart of them, they're all love. It's all
Yeah.
supposed to
Right.
be the ideal of love. So
I agree. And
put it
we
together,
just have
people.
I feel like we all love God. We just have different names for God, whatever that is. The universe, Allah, Buddha, Jesus Christ, whatever your David, whatever your understanding of that is, you just call him a different name. But okay, Rena says, Danielle, are there any messages coming through for me that you can share?
Okay. Just to let people know, the more specific you can get with this style of reading, the easier it is, just because of the format where we're not connecting personally.
Although I just gave you really vague and you hit it right on the head,
Yeah.
so to
Right. I
speak.
mean, it
I
happens.
mean, oh my
It's just a
god.
little bit more difficult and maybe time consuming. So just, I mean, we could do it, but it's a little easier when it's more specific for this format. But so for Rena, I'm seeing something about beer cozies, something about a marking on a beer cozy, and I'm getting information also about work, and your dad actually also standing by you when you're working late or really hard on the computer. Like I see you really tight and focused and contracting with work, and dad's like standing there poking you in the back saying, lighten up a little, come on, take a break now.
Wow, that's great. Rena and her dad were so connected. And they actually look alike. I think Rena looks a lot like her dad.
Yeah.
So that's really, really, really cool. Sometimes, Danielle, I'll ask you a question. Sometimes my mother was my favorite person in the world, and just like, I loved her more than anything. But sometimes, she's been gone now almost 14 years, but I feel like she's so far away, even though like my love for her is ever present. I have pictures of her everywhere, but I feel like she's so far away. And does that happen as the longer that they're gone, the farther they feel, or is that a choice of theirs? Or
Honestly, it's a lot about us. Sometimes it's something within us that's kind of pushing the feeling of them away. But most
mm,
times when people are feeling that and I'm doing a reading, I'll get messages of how they've been close. And sometimes they'll have me share moments with the person where the person was alone or thought they were alone, and the loved one in spirit will describe it to me so that the client can know, oh, they were there then, but I didn't feel them at all. So a lot of
right.
times when you're feeling that, I would say work on something within yourself and acknowledge that it's maybe a moment of grief where it's making you feel that illusion of separation.
Oh, wow, would make sense. It's almost like a protection.
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
it's the same thing also how the universe works. Sometimes when we want something really, really badly, we actually repel it to some degree because
Mhm.
we're so focused on it, and we're more focused on the wanting of it or the not having on it on the unconscious levels than the having it and trusting in it.
Wow. So Rena just said, I felt that the other night and looked at the clock and it was a 1:11 a.m. and felt my dad telling me to go to bed.
There you go. Yeah. And 111 is new beginnings. So
Oh my God. Look, I have chills. Look, 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 look. Woohoo! Wow. That's incredible. Okay. Andy Prasky says, can you still hear the voices of the people who have passed?
yeah, I mean, it depends on two things usually. So it depends on you and whether that is a natural part of your what's called the clairs, the senses, the extra senses to allow that and pick up on it more easily. And it also depends on the spirit. So talking with spirit is another language in itself. It largely circles around symbology, and because that's easier for them to connect. It's also why it's easier for them to connect in dreams, which is a space based on symbols.
Mm.
But they can use their voice. In my experience, it takes a little bit more energy for them to do that, unless that's the specific person's main aspect of gift. So some people can connect more through smell. Some people can connect more through visual and seeing like a picture in their eye. I usually have a combination of them, and then it's up to the spirit how they want to use their energy. Same thing as if they want to appear physically, they'll probably have to save up energy to do that and be in the right space and time to get a visual image through to our reality plane.
Wow. So it's work for them too.
Oh yeah, it's work. So when I do a reading, I always have a few moments at least where I focus and calm the energy and create a safe space for me and the client and the other side. Even something like this, I create, kind of a sacred circle so that we're getting truthful information and non-trickster energies of the light. And so that I raise my energy a little, they usually lower theirs a little, and we kind of meet in the middle to interact.
Wow. That's fascinating. Andy said, I've had a spirit talk to me through radio.
Oh, yeah, so that's easier for them than just using their voice and us picking up on it. So that would be something
Incredible.
called EVP, or
Mhm.
electric voice phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
There were a few movies about it in the late 90s and early 2000s. White Noise was like a famous one. And then a lot
EVP.
of people got recorders to to try to do it themselves.
Or if you're like me and you watch the Discovery Channel and
Right.
all the programs that are on there,
Yeah.
they always take when they're ghost hunting EVPs and also a lot of other electromagnet
Yeah.
magnetized equipment that help
Right.
the other side gather energy should they want to present themselves.
Right. I don't really recommend actually watching those shows very often because
I know they're horrible.
you can pick up the energy, in my experience, from that or from the
Mhm.
news, like Maria and I have talked about, depending on how sensitive of a tuner you are and if you put energy boundaries or something like a light filter. So sometimes, like when I used to watch some of those shows out of curiosity to see what other people were doing, sometimes the energies would come through to me because they are outside of space and time, and
Mhm.
they can see, oh, this person who's in the show is not paying attention. They need to try all these tools to really get me to interact
Mm.
with them. But oh, that person watching, they have a gift. I could actually talk to them. So
That is so mind blowing because, I have an aversion to like horror movies because I feel like I'm very porous in a way. Like I pick up things that are very dark and I don't want them,
yeah.
and then I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it and then it stays with me. So I don't know if that's just me being a scaredy cat or if that's just, I feel porous when I watch those things, like it just
Yeah.
creeps
And
me
I'm the
there,
out.
same
there's
way.
a
I
lot
don't
of
watch them.
yeah. I mean, told Maria when I was younger, I was obsessed with horror movies. But until I was like maybe 17, because then I was still in a period where when I was younger, I was really hiding or trying to shut down a lot of my gift. My family was encouraging me to shut it down, and the church actually encouraged me to shut it down when I was still a churchgoer. And I watched horror movies because that wasn't scary to me. I would correct it and say, well, that would be a real thing, but it wouldn't happen like that. It would happen like this. And it didn't compare
I
to like
love
the
that.
thing. Yeah. And it didn't compare to what I was seeing. So I would make my friends watch the classic horror movies because I found them funny. I was like, you're scared by that? You should see what I see.
That would be like
Yeah.
Mystery Science Theater 3000, but Danielle style.
Yeah.
No, that would be good. We'd be
I
cracking
love
jokes
that.
in the front
See,
row.
I wish I could be one of those people that thinks it's funny. I just get so spooked, and then I can't. I mean, not the goofy. There's some goofy stuff, but a lot. Like I remember watching Blair Witch Project, and it's still with me, and that was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There's certain things I cannot unsee or feel.
Some of those slasher ones I can't do with those, but like the one like Exorcist or Amityville Horror, those ones really get my energies up. They're my favorite because I feel like there's a little bit maybe more truth to them than some of the other ones that I've seen. But
yeah, you know what I think the best one was? I did watch. It was more of a thriller, and I don't know how you did you see The Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
Did you think there was truth to that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in honesty, there's truth to most of them. It really depends on how much the writer is going to research. But that's why I really don't watch them anymore either, is because it's increasing the amount of real things that they'll try to put in there. And especially now, a lot of them also use authentic Latin, authentic kind of summoning energy things. And when you watch something, you're giving your consent to whether you would agree to that to be in your reality in some sense. So it's not really worth watching to me.
Yeah, and this goes to same thing with being around negative people in general or negative situations. Like I cannot do it anymore. I used to be really good at just like shutting down, but I got to tell you, like the older I get and the more conscious I get of my well-being, the more there's certain people I can't be around. I literally have to like get out.
Oh, yeah. The more sensitive you become and the more you raise your consciousness, the harder it is to tolerate those things because you're literally vibrating at a different level than them. And it's just a teacher for you to say, are you still going to put up with that? Or are you going to set boundaries and let people do their own thing and you do your own thing?
Right. All right. So, Danielle, what are some of the other things besides the quantum session that I had? What are some of the other things that you offer that some of the other, because I know you do a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I study every day for over 2 decades. So I have a wide range of things that I can do with people. And I love to also incorporate kind of mental health things as well to really help people integrate that. So I do offer the quantum session that we can connect you with loved ones in spirit and also with your own energy field. Answer questions like this, answer questions about signs that you may have had or patterns. One of my favorite things to do is work with people about their patterns and their woundings and help them understand how that might still be sitting in their field. I don't really do traditional like psychic things of prediction because I really believe it's more powerful to help people understand the energy from their past that got them to this point, the energy that they're carrying now, and then help them see which of the possible projected futures they actually want and how they can take stock of their energy to go towards and build more of those futures. I believe we have free will for a reason.
We're in control, right, Danielle? We have control of what are those choices are going to. So if you give us one answer, and then we're like, well, she told me this, and I thought I was no, because you something you may have done in that moment or time or choices you made may change your course of life.
Yeah. And so I find it more respectful to help people. I know sometimes people want the answers of predictions because they actually want someone else to decide for them. But I love to help people see how to decide for themselves.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Like I never have specific. I had a message I wanted to get. Like when I had my session with you, I had a message I wanted to send my mom, which was a good thing. I wanted to tell her that I had done something that she had asked me to do, and that. I just wanted to make sure she knew. So that was like more for me. But I'm always that person. I don't want to know. Like I want my life to be organic, like I'm swimming in a river. Like I don't know I will keep swimming.
Yeah.
And I trust God, and I trust that I'm coming from a good place, and good things will happen if I work hard. You
Yeah.
know,
And then the more you can understand about what's going on that you may not be always consciously paying attention to, the more that can help. So I also do things like what's called Akashic Records readings, where we can tap into the records of your soul's energy from this, and if you believe in other lives as well. So in
yep.
something, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was just reading while you were saying that. Andy Presky had said, "A must-read, Many Lives, Many Masters" by
Yeah.
Brian Weiss. Yes,
That's a
and
great one.
I read that. I talked to Danielle about it, and she also. It's a great book, folks. Many Lives, Many Masters, and so you believe Brian Weiss knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, everybody experiences explanations differently, but a lot of what he says I found to be the case in my personal experiences, and that's something I find a lot of value in working in, and also helping people understand more accurately. Because as past lives have become more popular, a lot of people try to attach to this idea of wanting to be, let's say, a famous person, and in truth, a lot of us can access fractals of people that have become famous and think or try to attach to the fact that we were them. Because when you agree to a life of fame, you agree to become something of an archetype. So you agree to become a symbol. The same way gods and goddesses were symbols. Not that celebrities are gods and goddesses, but it becomes something in the public awareness and public consciousness to point the way. So sometimes there are readers or people who try to do it for themselves that get confused and see a famous person come through in trying to do something like a past life reading, and they'll not take it a step further, because sometimes that image comes through to point the way as a symbol and not actually as an answer of who the person was. So like a lot of people have identified themselves as Cleopatra, far too many, even if you fractalize something, to actually
Right.
have been her, and they forget, well, that could be trying to show you that you were alive in Cleopatra's time, or that could be the only symbol you have of a female queen.
Right.
Or
You
you
were
could have
actually a slave bringing her the water, but
right, you could have been in her court. You could have just seen her face because there was some in that life, you were so attached to a coin with her face on it. You know,
Right.
it can be different things. And the value of past lives to me is never in finding out who you were for, kicks and giggles, but it's to find out more about you and the patterns that you still carry, the types of soul contracts. I do a lot of soul contract work with people and helping them understand why we have certain lessons or people in our lives, how you can understand those things to end or heal relationships and balance karma and all of that, so that we can do more in my further one-on-one work with people, where we go beyond sessions and we go into energy healing and life and consciousness coaching.
Okay, we're gonna take a minute. Then
Yeah.
when we come back, I want you to talk about these classes. Because I think you have one coming up, right?
Yeah, I
I want to
have
know about
a
the
group.
animal reading.
Yeah, I have a group this Saturday for spirit animal readings.
Wow, cool. All right, let's take a minute. We're gonna do our what's the story? We're gonna do our go ahead, keep eating. All right, so I always cook on the show. Why do I do it? Because I like to stay creative. That's my whole thing. I like to be creative. I can't ask other people to come on and be creative if I do not do that myself. So now I'm back on the keto. I go back and forth. I have a wedding coming up. My friend Scott Ryan's wedding is Sunday in Miami. I'm working. It's going to be crazy. I'm working at Brandy Saturday night. Then I'm driving to Newark, parking the car, and getting on a plane.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And the arena, I'm staying at Cora's house, our cousin Cora, who's amazing.
Oh my goodness. You're
Who
not
is
going to get any sleep.
Listen, I'll sleep some other time. I'm going to go to the wedding. I'm going to have a ball, and it's going to be great. And then I'll go back and hang out with Cora for 2 days. Okay, so what did I make? Cora's a blast. You don't want to sleep around Cora. Okay, what did I make? So I know you're a vegan, Danielle. I tried to get but I am not.
That's
Although
okay.
I did not have any meat or anything, but I went with fish. I hope that's okay.
That's okay.
So I was like, "What? Let me try to stay," but I stayed healthy. So what did I make? Look how beautiful this plate is,
Oh
if I
my
say so myself.
goodness.
Gorgeous.
I'm very excited about my
Oh,
plating.
those Brussels
All right.
sprouts.
So yes, thank you, Leo.
Oh my goodness, I'm so
So
hungry
this
now.
is a flounder. I marinated it in sherry, garlic, scallions, Um, lobster bouillon and Green Goddess spices by Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's makes the best spices, and the Green Goddess is amazing. It's got all kinds of good stuff in there. And then I just kind of poached it, not so much fried it, but kind of poached it in all that deliciousness. And then I chopped up some scallions, cooked some red peppers over that, and there's that. And then, as Leo pointed
Oh,
out,
my
the
favorite.
Brussels sprouts, and I cooked these with olive oil, garlic, Parmesan cheese.
Oh, yes.
And then, you know what I just slightly drizzled on it because I just bought it? Mike's Hot Honey. Do you know Mike's Hot Honey?
Ooh,
Wow.
Yeah,
yes.
it's
Good.
sweet and it's hot, but just a tiny bit to give it a little kick. And there's some lemon. So that is my healthy, because Danielle came on. I had to cook healthy.
When you're not looking, I would eat all of those Brussels sprouts, and then you would not have them.
I know. I love, isn't it funny
They're
when we're
so
kids?
good.
Although I always liked vegetables, even when I was a kid. Okay, what did I make for my salad tonight? I
Ooh.
know, isn't that pretty? Because Danielle was coming on, so I had to make something really pretty. So this is Boston lettuce, because I'm doing my show in Boston coming up in less than 2 months. It's at the Club Cafe on Columbus Avenue. We're going to post that link. So there it is. Thank you, Leo. So I am doing a show with my sidekick, Lynn, Portas Genius. The show is only $20, but please, if you 20 ahead, 25 at the door. But it's really selling quickly. I'm thrilled, but I also want to make sure that you get tickets, my Boston people. Actually, I have people coming from New York too. How cool is that?
Right. Everybody get tickets if you can travel to Boston, because it's also Maria's birthday show.
Yes, my birthday is 3 days later. And so I'm celebrating. I'm going to be 61. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm very proud of my age. Okay, so what did I make? Boston lettuce, then kale, radicchio, and here are some baby cucumbers, teeny weeny little cucumbers. I know, which I got at Trader Joe's as well. And then pumpkin seeds, dried cranberries, and beautiful gala apples. How pretty those are.
Pumpkin seeds. I love the crunch.
I know. And I think I'm going to go very simple because there's so much happening. Just aceto de Modena, balsamic vinegar from Italy, and a Tuscan herb olive oil. That's what I'm going to do. There you go. And then for
Those
dessert,
apples look like they're diving into a pool, like they're ready to do
well,
some
that's
kind
what
of
Esther Williams
1930s.
style.
Yes, there we go. Thank you.
Yes, they're all ready. Remember those are the Busby Berkby?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Remember those? Yes. Well,
Those
I am.
apples are ready to dive into your
God knows
salad.
I'm theatrical. So, so this is just plain honeydew melon. You cannot go wrong with a delicious honeydew melon. And you can have melon and berries on keto. But I'm telling you, at the wedding, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to eat everything. When I'm at chorus, I'm going to eat everything because she'll probably make zapoli. She makes all that stuff. All right. So sweet, savory, and hot. Yes, Andy. So, Andy, do you have any questions? Because you're so knowledgeable about this stuff. But do you have any specific questions, or do you want to ask as far as someone coming through for you, Andy?
Yeah. People can ask anything.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a specific...
Anything you feel comfortable having other people hear the answer to, rather.
Yes, that's what it is too. I mean, I know
Hey, kitty.
at this point, so many of us have people that have passed on. So go ahead, Andy, if there's something you want to, because he just said yes. If there's something that specifically comes through, I'm sure he's typing right now. I mean, now I will say maybe you're like, I'm going to save it for my session with Danielle, which is what I tend to do. Okay, here comes Andy Prosky. My great grandmother is my spirit guide. Okay, so is there, Danielle, anything that maybe Andy's great grandmother would send through?
Well, in my experience, if we know a relative in life, they wouldn't be classified as a full spirit guide. Most spirit guides are assigned before we're born. And so relatives that are spirit guides are usually ones that have passed over before we are born. What can happen is we can have many spirit guides, we can have temporary spirit guides, and family members can step in as part of the guide team. So some people like to call them spirit guides, some people like to say angels. It really doesn't matter. It just depends on your resonance. And that's beautiful that she's directed so much of your life. And it's also a form, in my experience, of ancestral healing, which is another thing that I do and work with people on, because in helping you, she's also helping herself. And in you guys working together, and in her directing you and helping you take a smoother path, it also reverberates through the family line and brings a lot of healing and light and extra love there. So that's beautiful. If you have a specific question or a sign maybe that she tried to give you that you don't understand that you would like to ask about, I would love to help with that.
Yeah, well, and while Andy's thinking of that, my whole career is attributed to my grandmother directing my grandmother directing my life.
Beautiful.
Andy, be specific about that. So, how do you think she directed you? Did she tell you to go in into a certain career? Andy actually is a director. He
Okay.
worked in television and film. I feel her every day still. So you feel her still every day. I feel that way with my grandmother. It's funny, like, because we talked about this. My grandmother's just like I still feel like she's around. Actually, I have a picture of her right up there. But my mom feels kind of far away, but my grandmother is around all the time. She's a good
Yeah, I
girl.
mean, that's really about us and how much grief and guilt we still carry. So as we work on that more, it's easier to feel them usually.
And Andy says, I visited her grave when I was down and out. Andy, by doing that, did it give you comfort or?
Some people it does, and some people choose never to go because they don't have to be in that place. In my experience, most spirits are in graveyards when their people are there. So it's not that they're stuck there for the most part. Some, if they don't have a lot of family, do kind of hang around, and so you'll have randoms in graveyards. But
Wow. So he said he prayed and asked for help
wow.
at the graveyard. Within 48 hours, my life changed. That's
Beautiful.
incredible, Andy.
So you gave her a petition, and she answered that call. And so that's beautiful. You guys both made an agreement. And I'm sure that when you get to the other side, or if you have a session or something, you'll see the ways that you've also blessed her existence the same way that she's blessed yours.
Wow. I have a question. So what do you think about cremation versus burial? Like, do you think that souls are okay? Like, I know I personally think it's beautiful, like the whole
Yeah.
cremation thing. And do you think that then they are where you scatter their ashes, or are with you, or are they everywhere, or how do you feel about that?
Most people actually feel that burning some form and facet of the body releases anchorage. So if something is carrying heavy energy, let's say, sometimes some cultures will actually burn that thing to release the energy attachment. So this is where we got the, in my opinion, wrong idea that burning a body means that it does something bad to the soul. In my
Native Americans
experience,
have used that part of their tribal ceremonies to release the dead.
right. So in my opinion, I've seen souls of burial and of cremation, souls whose bodies were not found. It really doesn't make a difference in terms of their ability to come through. Only if it really meant something to them not to be given a certain type of burial, if their wishes were not respected, then it can make a difference, just because of the fact that their wishes were not respected. But it really doesn't make a difference to their energy whether they were buried or cremated.
Interesting. I personally love all of it. Like, I personally feel like once a soul leaves a body, then it's detached from the body, but
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter. But I always loved when people would scatter ashes like somewhere. I thought that was so beautiful, you know?
Well, it's beautiful because if somebody chose that place,
Yeah.
especially,
Yeah.
it gives them a point where they can visit more frequently if they want to,
Yeah.
and it gives the people remaining a beautiful place to visit and have contact with them. That's may not be a personal space. So sometimes people are more comfortable trying to have contact in an area that's not necessarily their home.
Yeah. Now, Mandor is being silly, but it is a valid question. Does Danielle ever use a Ouija board? That's not your thing.
No, it can be a real thing,
Yeah, I
but
know.
I have not used it because I don't need it, but also because it's a portal opening. And you know, a lot of people, I've worked with people that have done that and opened that space because they don't have their personal space opened,
Ah.
and it can bring through a lot of trickster energies and things that are just not great to deal
Now
with.
there's a phenomenon happening in Colombia. Have you heard about this?
I
Where there
don't
were
think
like
so.
28 younger, like schoolgirls that they used this Ouija board over a few months, and they all got very, very ill.
Yeah.
Like very ill, very suddenly, unexplained. So they were now, they're saying, I mean, I always was freaked out by it. I remember we used to do it in the basement when we were in high school. We used to, but it always scared me. It always, so
It
it is a
reminded me of
thing.
it.
And it, go
Remember
It's
the
a
ahead.
old
thing. It's
calling
like
cards?
opening a door and not closing it or not monitoring who and what comes through. So it's not the best thing to do in my
Reminds me
Right.
opinion.
of those old calling cards we used to have back in the day when you used to go dial in the number to your phone to get a call home. That's what the Ouija board reminds me of. And
Yeah.
most people have a direct line; they don't even need the card.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, I mean, never used it. Yeah, I don't. That kind of stuff spooks me out because I do believe in that. There's so many options, and there's good and there's not so good. There's darkness and there's light, but I feel like we keep learning from each other. So, Leo, would you mind, honey, scrolling Danielle's information again so
Sure.
people can? And do yourself a favor and just go visit Danielle's website. It's really good, and you can see so many different things, and there's different price ranges. And Danielle also, you also do like a payment thing where people can do it in payments.
Yeah, there's a shop pay feature that uses the same kind of program that like Target and the larger retailers use to, if anyone wants to break down payments, or even if they get a larger package, I can make a custom listing and it will help you break down payments to pay in installments. And because of the way it works, you would still be able to get your reading after the first payment.
Wow. And I can't say enough. And everybody that I know that's gone to Danielle, a lot of my family members, they just love it, and my
Yeah.
friends. So, all right, Danielle, what do you want to leave us with on this very special day?
Yeah. So, and like Marie was saying, I do have a group reading that's special for this Saturday. It's partially to celebrate my birthday that's coming up.
Happy
Happy
birthday!
birthday!
And it's also, I'm raising some funds for like my family car and some things, so it'll help with that. Tickets are a special price, but if you want to donate beyond that, that would be helpful. So it's this Saturday on Zoom, and tickets are already on my website. It'll take you automatically to a digital download if you purchase, and then you'll have your Zoom link. And in that, we're focusing on spirit animals and how spirit animals can act as guides and teachers for you. And actually, people can ask a spirit animal about anything. I do also offer anytime spirit animal medicine mini readings, which happen via recording. I've sent those all around the world, and people ask about such a range of things. And it's so funny that the spirit animals always have an answer. And I like them because it also gives someone a guide to continue to work with and continue showing up for them. So that animal or its symbology can continue to give you more answers on that subject after your channeling. So if you're interested in spirit animal work, you might want to join this Saturday, the 25th, on Zoom. Tickets are on my website now. And then you could get a personal quantum session or any of the other types of sessions. I kind of categorize them into a whole bunch of different things. So you can have a look at my website where there's a contact form. And there are also links to my podcast on there if you're interested in
I love
geeking
that
out.
little
Yeah.
podcast. I mean, it's so soothing, and they're not very long. Like they're easily digestible. It's something you can listen to when you're getting ready for work, or sometimes I'm doing paperwork or paying bills, and I just put it on, and
Yeah.
I find them very, very helpful. But you're so smart, Danielle. You know so many things. It's like it's not just one thing, or it's not just black and white. It's like you know so many things. I'm like, what the hell? How
Thank
does
you.
a person get that smart?
You study constantly. I mean, I study with guidance. Spirit always leads me to something. And actually, on our mutual friend Richard Skipper's show,
I love
not
Richard.
yeah, I love him. He connected us, so we're very grateful.
Yes.
But actually, on his show, he helped me talk to Temple Grandin, who is one of his guests, who is a leader in the autistic spectrum and community. And I connected with her. I've been a fan for such a long time because she talks about building the mental database and how much that helped her with her autistic abilities. That's something Spirit has always guided me to do, build that database, because Spirit connects with me and uses that database to get me to say things more easily to any type of client, and so that's why I love researching and learning all those things with Spirit's guidance, and then it comes together and being able to bring it together in such beautiful ways as a more holistic approach to helping people.
Yeah, wow.
Kind of like if you're a Christian out there, she's got the tongue blessing where she can speak to many different people and many different languages to get the message of love and healing across.
Look at you. You're a good Catholic boy. You know your stuff.
Well, Catholic Reformed.
Yeah.
I still believe in it, and I love the music and everything, but
listen, I love God and I love the whole.
I can't sit in church and sing anymore like I used to.
Yeah.
Well, I just, I feel like if people would just pull out and let God do what God does.
Let go and let God?
Yeah. I think it'll be a better world. And I think most people enjoy their religions and they like to gather in the community that comes with it and the beauty that comes with it. I loved growing up Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I loved it. I didn't like the condescending stuff that came with it and the control, but I was able to separate it even as a kid. My mother was so spiritual that I kind of just followed what she did.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave you tonight, folks, by saying, I'm going to say, and then we'll have Leo, then Leo go, and then we'll have Danielle close. But I'm going to say there's so much good in the world. And I feel like the world is shifting, even though there's a lot of bad, but there's shifting in a way that people are starting to be kinder to each other and not click onto that news cycle so much and hate each other, more like we're doing kind things for each other. So I'm going to keep thinking that and putting that into the world because there's so much good. So I'm going to focus on the good. Leo?
I'm just going to remind people that human beings are not the top of the food chain. Mother Earth is, so respect her and get on it.
All right.
Wow. Well, I would like to say and take it full circle that remember, every day can be a new start. In reality, we're today in the start of another new astrological new year. We're taking another collective trip around the sun. And so it's a great day to use that as a reminder to tap into new beginnings for yourself. But the more that you can get to know yourself and get to know what you're carrying and the beliefs that you've been carrying or the limitations that you've been carrying, the easier it can be to step into that moment of now, that moment of new, that moment of innocence and seeing things with childlike innocence so that you can really appreciate them and appreciate the world, regardless of hard things that may be going on right now. Most of the things that we stress about are things that we're over exaggerating from our past or worrying about for a future that isn't here yet and doesn't have to be here if we take different ownership of our energy. So remember that you have more power than you think you do, and kindness goes a long way, not only in helping the other person that you're being kind to, but also in elevating yourself and helping you know that you're part of something bigger. So thank you all.
Beautiful.
Yay.
All right, everybody. We are so glad you popped in. I hope that people know that you are loved and appreciated out there. And I know that once we post a show, then more people will watch it. Because a lot of our people, like I know Lynn is working on the United Solo, and we'll post the show everywhere. But please feel free to share it, to share the information, to share it to your pages. And, and contact Danielle. She's amazing. I can't say enough about Danielle. And Leo, how much do I love Leo? Also, a plug for Leo. Leo does incredible promos, websites, all kinds of things. If you need little shorts done, he does all kinds of advertisement and beautiful work. And yes, Rena says always be kind. Fantastic. I agree. Andy, he's done work for Andy as well. So yeah, Leo is a gun for hire. I do not mind sharing my friend Leo. It would make me happy. And Danielle. So thank you so much, everybody. Please come back every Tuesday from 9 to 10 p.m. to What's the Story with Maria. We love and appreciate you. And good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Ooh, I'm lagging. Bye.